Hey you guys, Guy Stevens here. I just got a question from someone who had made a sort of an attendance FileMaker file where they would have like a certain person, like a student, and then in a portal they would have a list of that student's attendance, like on any specific date, whether if that student was present, late, or absent. And now the person was asking, can I somehow summarize or count the amount of times that a student was present, was absent, or was late? And this person asked, do I have to do like a find or maybe a looping script that finds the records of this student and then counts all instances of present and absent and late? And do I then have to use some sort of Harry Potter magic spell or something to make it all work? Well, if you're thinking in the direction of finds and scripts and stuff like that, then you're thinking in the wrong direction. So I'll try to explain one way of getting these totals in this kind of situation in a different kind of way than using finds or scripts or whatever like that. This trick I'm going to show you, or this method I'm going to show you, is going to be not always useful, but in this situation, because we're only dealing with 3 different possible values, we can kind of use the method that I'm going to show you, which is basically you count every instance in a different field. I'll just show you exactly what we're going to do. So on any given record, on any given attendance record, this value is going to be either absent, present, or late. So what we can do is we can make 3 separate fields where we say if this value in this field is absent, then write a 1 in that field. And you can have 1 field for every instance, and then you can count them and summarize them. Okay, this might sound a little complicated, but let's do this one step at a time. All right, so let's go to File, Manage Database, and we'll just try and have a look at what I've made. I've made a very, very simple example file where you have 2 tables, one for students, one for attendance. For the students, I have an ID, a first and a last name, and those get combined to a full name. And in my attendance file table, I have an ID field. I have a student IDFK field to relate an attendance record to a certain student. I have a date and a status. Very simple. So let's go into the attendance right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to see what's in the status field. And depending on that, we're going to fill out something in a new field. So we're going to create a calculation field, which I'm going to call C underscore present. And let's start by making this a calculation field. Okay, and then we're going to create that one, and then FileMaker is going to ask me to specify the calculation, and the calculation is going to be very simple. It's going to be an if statement. You can create that by typing if here and then selecting the if statement that is suggested by hitting return, and then you kind of get that if statement. Or you could just go in here and look for if, and then you get an if statement here, and then you can just like I don't actually know because I never do this. You can double click it and get it in there. Okay, so the if statement is very simple. There is a test. And the test is going to be very simple. If the status field contains the value is equal to, and then we have to put it in between brackets because it's like a text value, and we say present, then I want the result to be, let's say we're going to, because we're going to be counting, I'm going to just use a number 1. And else result 2 is going to be a number, is not going to be anything. So I'm going to just put 2 quotation marks with nothing in between. So if the status is present, I'm going to get a 1, and otherwise I'm going to get nothing. Okay, and this is going to result into a number. Okay, cool, let's try this out. This cannot be fine. I don't actually need these brackets, so let's get rid of these. Okay, cool, that's better. I don't know why FileMaker automatically gives you these curly braces, because I don't need them. Okay, let's try this out. Let's see, this actually doesn't have to be so big, but let's make this portal a little bit bigger, just so we can get those fields in to see what's happening. So let's take this new field tool, let's drag it in here, and let's get from the attendance table, because of course this portal is based on the attendance table. Let's get that calculation field we just made. I'm not going to create a label because I'm in this list view here. What I am going to do quickly, I'm just going to create some labels here, like for the date and for the status. I'm just going to quickly make those. I'm going to alt drag this over here, and because I don't see any edges here on my field, which I find annoying, I'm going to go here and I'm going to use the default style, so that does give me borders, and I'm going to say C_present, because then I know which field I'm looking at here. Now if I exit this, I will see that for every record here where the status is present, I get a 1. And I get a 1, and I get a 1. So I get 3 1s. It means the person has been present 3 times. So I can now basically use these 1s to kind of count them up, add them up, and then I will have a total. We can do that by going back to File, Manage Database, and then we can say for that calculation of the full name, I would also like to have a summary of... Oops, I'm actually doing it wrong here. Sorry, I made a mistake. Let's cancel this. Let's go back. I'm in the wrong table here. I'm in the students table. I don't need to be there. I need to be in the attendance table, of course. And I've got my C present, and I'm going to make an S underscore because it's going to be a summary field, and I'm going to say count summary count present. So I'm going to make this a summary field. I'm going to create this, and then I would like to get the count of, or actually even the total of it, because I've used the number 1 in there. I could also just easily get the total of the C present there. Okay, so in that way, because it's the total, I don't need to use count here. I can just use total, and I can change that. Okay, so I've got my summary total present, and then if I hit OK, what is going to happen now? Let's just edit the layout. Let's add that field right here, and let's see what's happening then. I want the S total present, and I'm going to get this one, and I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to say S total present. Okay, this one again is without borders, which annoys me. Okay, cool. So now I've got the number 3, which is correct because I've got this 3 times. Now it's not very practical to have that total in here because it's repeated all the time, and that's kind of annoying. So what I could do is I could put this total up higher. So what I can do is I can take this whole thing and just put it here. There we go. And then it's kind of better because for this student I've got the status of present 3 times. Now that I know how to do this, I can just go and check on my next record right here, and I've got a whole lot more present here. So I've got 5, and my total here says 5. So because these records that are visible for us here are already kind of restricted to this one student, because of that, our summary is also only seeing these records and also summarizing only the students, only the records of this particular student. So that's a good thing. Also my next one, this one has far more records, so it would be very difficult to count them manually because you can't even see them all. It's giving me the total right here, so that's kind of cool. Okay, now that we know how to do this, we can take this a step further, and obviously what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to duplicate this one, and we're going to make it C absent, and then we're going to change it. And then we could say if the status is absent, it can be 1. Okay, cool. And then we're going to create an S total absent, which is going to be a summary field, and it's going to give us the total of absent, which is cool. And then of course we're going to need to duplicate this one for late, C_late. And then we're going to need to create an summary total for late as well. Okay, so the total of C late. Cool. Now I've got those fields. That means I can go in here and I can start just like duplicating these. I'm going to alt drag this over here and alt drag it again. So I've got this one is going to be absent, and this one is going to be late, C late, and then I can just change these labels here. Absent, and this one is for late. Cool. So what I could do, I can just copy those as well. There you go. And this one's going to be the total of absent, and this one's going to be the total of late. Again, I will have to change the labels here. And as you can see, this works if you only have a certain amount of values. But I think I've forgotten to change my calculation here. Let's go to, this was absent, C late. Yeah, I haven't changed this yet. Late. So if the status is present, if the status is absent, or if the status is late. Okay, total of present, absent, and late. Okay, that looks better. Okay, that fixes it. So, and as I can see, they always have 1. So let's add another record here, and let's make late. Okay, so that adds up to 2. Great. So another thing you could do, because obviously we're not going to keep these fields in here. What we could do is we could use conditional formatting to make it all stand out a bit more. We could say when the value is equal to present, I would like my fill color to be green. It's maybe a bit dark, this green. And then if my, whoops, the value is equal to absent, I would like the fill color to be a bit of a red. And if my value is equal to late, I would like my fill color to be maybe a bit of a yellow or something, or an orange maybe. I don't know. Yeah, yellow will be fine. Okay, cool. So if I do that, then it kind of makes my thing a bit more lively, and then I can make these present is green, absent is red, and late is a bit of a yellowish. Yeah, cool. That makes it look better. And then I've got, of course, I have to, of course, change these labels as well. Now, total, there you go. Now, if you would, of course, have a bunch of variable values that you can fill in there, then this kind of system is not going to work. If this field can contain all kinds of different values, you're going to be a little bit stuck. But in this kind of situation, you could have this work. Now, there's one remark I would like to make, which is the following. If we go into our attendance here, you can see that these are calculation fields. Now, a calculation field, it has storage options. And you can choose to either store a calculation result or to not store a calculation result. But the thing is going to be that a calculation is always kind of going to have to calculate. And as soon as you have a calculation field that has to calculate, it's going to take up time. It's going to take up computer power. It's going to need time to calculate. While in this case, you don't really need to calculate anything. I mean, a student is either present or is absent or late. You check that once, and once you've checked that value, the calculation doesn't really have to be done anymore. The calculation can be done the moment you do the data entry, and as soon as you kind of change a value, like say, oops, he wasn't late, he was actually present that day, this calculation can be updated, but this doesn't have to be an actual calculation field. A calculation field is always going to make your file a little bit slower, so what we could do is take the calculation, we can turn that into a simple number field, and we can change that, and then we can say for this number field we are going to use an auto enter calculated value. And this is something that you can only do when all the fields that are in your calculation, and in this case there is only the status field, you can only do this trick when that those fields in your calculation are actually within that same table. But these are, I'm not calculating with related fields, so I can just basically make this a simple auto enter number calculation. And there is a very important checkbox here that says do not replace existing value field of the field, if any. Now, this is a very important one to uncheck, and I'll show you why. Let's say we've made this present calculation into an auto enter calculation. So what that means is, as soon as a student let's say on this new date is present, on that moment when this value is filled in, this calculation gets made and it simply gets stored in here as a number. Because it's a simple stored number, it doesn't really take any computer power. It's just a value that is stored there. It doesn't ever have to recalculate, and that is cool. But because I did not uncheck that one value, that checkbox that says do not replace existing field if any, now this box is checked. So that means that if there is an existing value in that calculation field, it will not get replaced. And in this situation, that's kind of wrong, because if I all of a sudden realize, oh no, that student was actually late, this kind of goes wrong. As you can see, this value is still in here. It's not supposed to be in here. This person cannot both be present and late. So it's very important that I, under attendance, uncheck this box, which means that if I change the status, then this field needs to be updated. This calculation that needs to be updated. So it's very important to uncheck this field. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and make all of these fields into simple number fields. And I'm going to change that, and then I'm going to go and make this number field an auto enter calculated value. And because it was just a calculation field before, this calculation is still present in here, so that's good. I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to uncheck this box, because that's very important that that is unchecked. Now I'm going to do that. Oops, again, I'm doing it wrong. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. First turn and change it into a number field, then make it an auto enter calculated value, and then uncheck this box so that the calculation does get updated if my status field changes. Okay, let's go and have a look in here. This is still wrong. Now the reason that this is still wrong is because when you work with a calculation field, which we had in the beginning, it will always kind of recalculate and update all the time, which is a good thing and a bad thing. In this case, it's kind of a bad thing because now I've got a wrong value here, but we uncheck that one box. So that means that if we change our status, it will recalculate. Let's say that our student is absent. So let's change this value to absent. And now because we changed this value, all three calculations are being updated, but they're just recalculating right now and then storing this as a simple number field. So as long as I don't change this, this will still just be saved as a simple number field. So this is these three fields are not calculation fields right now, not using any system resources, but they do update when they have to. So in that regard, thinking clearly about calculations and using the way you use calculation fields, it is kind of important to think it through so you don't end up with a whole bunch of calculation fields while you really don't need calculation fields. Now, if these calculations were using data from a related table, you would need to make them a calculation. Okay, so we don't need these anymore. We can get rid of them. So let's just get rid of all of these guys. Let's get rid of them. And then we kind of close this one up again. And then we end up with a very simple file here that kind of shows you all of the totals right there. Okay, so that's just a tiny little trick that you can use to kind of add up different values where the kind of the defining shall I say value is always in the same field. The same field can have different values, but you want to count up every instance of a certain value. You can do that this way. All right, I hope that cleared things up a little bit. No Harry Potter magic spells needed, just some quick thinking in FileMaker. All right, ciao. If you guys want to learn a ton more about FileMaker, you can head over to my Udemy page where I've got a bunch of entire FileMaker courses online. You can follow them, and basically we make entire FileMaker systems from scratch, and I'll take you on the entire process step by step. There is even one that is completely free, so you can just follow that free of charge, and that is a beginner tutorial where we make an entire contacts database. That's a really fun one that you can follow that can teach you the basics of FileMaker. So head over there by following the links in the description, and I'll see you guys there.